Oh, look, we live. Hello.
I was going to get a soda. Whatever. It's too late now.
Too late, baby.
It feels so good. Isn't that like a thing? How the fuck does this mic get like unscrewed I don't move it. I go like this.
It's probably a conspiracy.
Yeah. There's so many conspiracies these days. I can't keep track of them all. All right, let's look at this. So it doesn't make sure like I'm like blowing the mic. Yeah, there we go. All right, that's probably.
It's good.
That's probably good. You want to change anything with your camera?
I think I'm
Welcome to Glad You Game Pod. Here we go. Bang,
Perfect.
bang. So we have, well, I guess we have a couple bits of news, tiddly bits, as one might say. Obviously, not much happened this week relating to games, like nothing, or, physical structures that sell games. Nothing really notable. So we were racking our brains. Obviously, we're going to talk about GameStop. Yeah, we got it. GME. Yeah, you know me. For the record, we're not stock people. We're not finance guys. We're not stock people. We're not going to give none of this financial advice. We're just talking about it from more of a speculative gaming sense. But it is something that, while it's related to stocks, it is directly related to games. Being the main source of this Reddit attraction is GameStop or GME. Couple things before I say that. We got a leak that it sounds like KOTOR 3, Knights of the Republic 3, is in development, but but by a different developer, it sounds like.
Do they know who?
Yeah, it's well, so for the record, this is the leak stuff. So who the fuck knows if it's really real? But from what it sounded like is it's not going to be made by BioWare, who, like, Obsidian and BioWare created the original before they got bought out by EA or owned by EA.
Okay.
I don't know who's making 3. It doesn't say who's making 3, or maybe it does.
It's really up in the air whether
it's
or not
really
it
like if my computer keeps fucking freezing on the paragraph that I was like, I'm gonna read this real quick, and
that's
then
not gonna help. Yeah,
no, it's not. Bethesda bulletin, blah blah blah. Isn't being made. So basically, what being made by EA or BioWare. They didn't say who's developing it. They it potentially indicated that it's not a well-known studio, so it's a smaller one. Which is an interesting choice, mainly because I don't know. Like, I would assume BioWare or EA would own the license of the game. So the fact that they're not doing it.
Didn't they just kind of lose? Didn't EA kind of lose the exclusive rights to that anyway?
They lost exclusive Star Wars rights to only make Star Wars games.
Yeah.
But that is a Star Wars game like they made.
Well, would it be back
in
under
2000
LucasArts or something?
Well, they made it in 2004 before EA got that exclusive contract. They got that exclusive contract in like 2010.
Okay.
So KOTOR predates that. So it was like their IP they made just in the Star Wars world. And the second game was released in 2004. So it was they just licensed it from Star Wars just straight up for that specific game. And BioWare did that for 1 and 2. And then obviously they also have the MMORPG, which still exists, called The Old Republic, which is in that same world that they're working on, which is also what makes it kind of weird that there's a third one coming out, which 3 would imply that is a direct sequel to 2, or yeah. And then not being made by the same developer at all. Like, so maybe they were just too busy. They have other stuff, so they sold the IP to somebody, or it's another smaller developer that's kind of like related to EA or something like that, and they're just going to be the publisher or something like that. Because, I don't really know. Yeah, it'd be. I mean, I don't know. I'm excited. Point is, like, 1 in KOTOR 3, Old Republic kind of sucks. It's like fun, but it just doesn't feel as everything KOTOR 1 and 2 was.
Yeah.
So Knights of the Old Republic. So it just seems like something's missing. So I'm excited to see there is if we trust the leak, there is a third one coming. It's just odd that it's not made by the previous few, but whoever does, I'm sure hopefully they knock it out of the park, and we can get that. The other thing is just quick. Last of Us 2 officially overtook The Witcher 3, and it's the most awarded game of all time officially.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So
was there another award show?
No, it's
or are they all just coming in from
there's a bunch of like, they basically tallied it up. There's a bunch of like awards that kind of like happened throughout the year, and I think there was a few more that happened towards the end of the year. Basically, it took over Witcher 3. Witcher 3 earned 260 wins altogether in 2015. In 2020, Last of Us 2 got 261. So far it's beating it by 1, which is the most awards received by a game ever,
yeah.
And it's literally one more than The Witcher 3 at this time. Maybe we'll end. So I don't know where they're counting all this or why it's taking so long. Maybe they did the election results as well. I don't know. But it's taking some time because we're almost in February. But I just thought it was a cool thing to mention that. So just do that. And then the new James Bond game is officially confirmed. We already know IOI is making it, but they confirmed that it's not based on any previous James Bond actor. So it's not like Daniel Craig or Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
It's going to be IO Interactive's James Bond.
Okay.
Which think of it like basically as Insomniac did Spider-Man. It was their Spider-Man. It wasn't Tom Holland or whatever. Or all for that. I think that's honestly when you do a game, unless it's a very tightly licensed game, do your own fucking character. Like even if it's an existing character in other entertainment spaces, you're never gonna
switch it up a little bit.
You're not gonna satisfy everybody.
Exactly.
And it's just gonna like, and then people will be like, well, he wouldn't really do this, or how does that work? And then you got to think of like, oh, he does this, and like, how does that fit in the timeline of Skyfall and this if it's like Daniel Craig? And it's like, fuck that. We're James Bond, but it's a whole new guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beautiful part about James Bond is that it kind of exists outside of a linear timeline. Like you can get into the specifics of like James 007 is really like a title, not a
It's a concept
number and what. But overall, it's always been kind of open to rebranding and redoing and creating new things. So create something new. Stop.
Yep, absolutely, fully. And so that's kind of the quick rundown of what I saw popping up this week. So that's pretty much it for that. So now let's just jump into the
thunderstorm. That was GameStop.
That nobody. I mean, if you saw this coming, you were part of like Wall Street Bets Reddit for a while. But even reading that, I doubt you would be like, is this really going to happen? And basically, I guess instead of just getting ahead of myself, in 2021, this month that we're ending.
You can even go back further and just talk about GameStop as a whole, where most people know what it is as like the physical space that you would go and buy games. They do a lot of swapping.
The trade in for like 2 cents. Exactly, like, oh, would you buy this game last week for $60? All right, I'll give you like 57 cents. Be like, how the fuck does it loses more value than like a car when you drive it off the lot? It's like, how is that possible when it's like, as long as it's running, it literally retains 100% of its value. It's like,
no
as long as you can read the disc, that's a perfectly conditioned car. Like that's crazy.
So they've like, as digital sales have become more prevalent, they've kind of like fallen off a bit over the years.
Right. Because
they're still alive, but it's less and less. And then 2020 hit and retail.
And they've been declining before 2020. Like you said, the digital sales, but really the introduction of Steam and just like you said, but also flash sales specifically with digital sales. So like PlayStation started doing them, Xbox does them. You got fucking, obviously I said Steam, the Epic Games. So everybody like developers almost getting their own, like Origin by EA. Fun fact, GameStop actually made their own digital store as well to try to compete in this industry. It's called GameStop PC. It was called Impulse. Did not do well. It is, I think it technically still exists. It is not doing well. They basically can't compete with that. But basically what they would do is, so you trade in the game to get some value for your game and then buy another game, right? But the problem is you're getting like 50 cents, maybe $3.50. Like you're not getting a ton, and they're going to sell it for $40. Like that markup, and that was, I'm sure, part of their trajectory of their business plan. Like we're making wild profit off of these trade-ins because we're the only one accepting them. Now with flash sales, it's like, hey, the $60 game is like $25 today and tomorrow, right? So they're like, oh well, that's kind of like cheaper, and it's like, all right, I might as well just download that then instead of get the used one from GameStop. And that definitely affected a lot of their sales because over the last 5-7 years, really, I mean, they've became like a massive brand when they were Electronics Boutique and EB Games, and then GameStop bought EB Games because they were competitors, and then GameStop was this like essentially monopoly right next to, and then it's like, but not really, because Best Buy technically can do the same thing, so it's like copacetic from like a business standpoint. But the problem is the brick and mortar just keeps going away and away. And it's like, well, we got all these bigger hard drives on these systems. They have their own stores built in. And it's just a lot easier. I just click, download, boom, right? Yeah. And it saves me time, my gas, if you're factoring that in, going there, and all that. And then you're doing all these digital games. You don't have physical games to trade in. There's nothing to give GameStop, right? Yeah. So not only people are not going in to buy their games physically, they also don't have the physical product to trade in at all anyways. Yep. So it's not like you had to buy the physical game from GameStop in the first place. You just had to bring a physical one there. But that additional revenue is also gone because people still do it, but it's like, I don't have the exact numbers. I would bet it's like 90-10. Like it's like significant.
If across the country, every car dealership was no longer able to sell used cars, a majority of car dealerships would go under immediately. Like, you don't make all your money just from selling brand new stuff. And then beyond that, say that every electric car could be purchased outside of a dealership, then you're losing even more property. So
and the best thing they've had going for them, which is why some people thought 2020 was kind of, obviously prior to COVID, was going to be kind of a spike up for GameStop, because historically that would happen with hardware sales, and they knew the new consoles were coming out in 2020. So the Xbox Series S, X, and PS5, digital, physical. I can't download that from Steam, right? That'd be fucking cool, right? My 3D printer just prints it out or something like that. That'd be pretty dope. But you can't do that right now. So, and you're not, you can't do that. So that gave them additional means to be like, okay, the stock could go up, right? The rationale for existing could go up.
Granted, historically, every time one came out, their stock prices were spiking.
Right. But specifically in 2020, it got hit with two things. One, this is the first, not that this company didn't exist in 2013, 7 years ago when the other systems came out, but not to the expanse, is Amazon, right? So Amazon obviously existed in 2013, right? But GameStop was still prevalent in hardware sales, right? Best Buy is still prevalent in hardware sales. But now if you look at Best Buy and stuff like that, Amazon is crushing the shit out of it. They're basically taking...
They just have the most units to sell.
Right. And they're taking the additional stuff that a GameStop or Best Buy could do in a physical sense, but they can just ship it to you. So you don't even have to go into the store. And it's just like, hey, dude, we'll give you 2-day shipping. It'll be at your house, like, unless you need it like in an hour, which they also have like Prime Now in some areas. So you could potentially do that. But unless you need it now, which both GameStop and Best Buy a lot of times have issues with product availability anyway. So they're like, we can order it to the store and you can pick it up. It's like, fuck that.
You have your lines of 20 people and only the first 10 get it or something.
Right. It's like, dude, I'm just going to go order it from Amazon and just get it directly to my house and, not have to put pants on. Right. Or something like that. And so you add COVID on top of that. Amazon's now like butt fucking them. And they have been, but they're just massive, and COVID made Amazon even more massive. Then you have low sales, low actual product. Sony and Microsoft, COVID or either, I think it was two things. I don't think they planned for this much demand, and they obviously did not plan for COVID affecting them. But also COVID affecting them also created a larger demand because more people were home, and created this massive scale in the gaming industry where we've seen highest ever numbers in game sales because everybody's fucking home. Right. And they need to get their minds off the shit that's going on outside. So there's more reason and rationale to escape reality. So,
and then on top of that, toward the end of 2020, which we'll come back to later, but the CEO of Chewy had sold Chewy got sold to I believe PetSmart.
It's the online like dog products company.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're gonna order food and have it shipped to your house, that's what would happen.
Yeah, it was PetSmart or Petco. It was one of the pet ones.
Yes. Yeah. And he like wrote this whole letter about how like terribly GameStop was handling all the resources they had, but then went and bought it was either a majority share or it was a majority share after his two other, I think it was his CFO and his one of the other chief officers came from Chewy to basically be on the board of GameStop,
right?
Which like raised a couple eyebrows, but it still wasn't doing a ton for the stock price. So
it raised a little bit just from the new board. I think it went from like $4 to like 15 or something like that. Or it was like, because it was like the after the board change, it went up to like, well, here, I'm pretty sure it was like $15. So it was like, and they're like, that's to be expected, like when this market changed because of the change in leadership, and like they're bringing all this additional value. Yeah. So basically, like when that happened, it kind of became like a $15 to $20 stock when it was like an $11 stock before that. And it kind of went up and down, but that was really before the craze hit. Like it was initial, like other people, this part of this Reddit group was buying shares at that time, which was also raising this price. But part of it was the legitimate reason of we have a new CEO, new board members could potentially take this in the product of GameStop into a new direction. Generally, when you do that and it comes from a successful business and stuff like that, the stock will sometimes go up because it's like there's something to look forward to, right? It's like your football team getting a new coach who's like a hot name.
Yeah,
so you're like, okay,
increased ticket sales just because there's a little buzz around it.
Exactly. So it's like, okay, cool. But then it's like, it's probably after a quarter or two, just go back down to whatever the fuck it was before. Basically market value.
Yeah. Which brings us to the beginning of 2021.
Right. Exactly. So now, actually how we explain basically what we were explaining before is the market value of GameStop, that it is clearly, if you listen to all that and just any rational opinion, it is on a downward trend, right? Everything it did, and it did well, is done better and cheaper by someone else, specifically Amazon or Steam, right? They're taking both sides of GameStop's pretty much whole product reason or reason to brick and mortar rationale and taking away. And really all they had is the last 10% of with the physical disc or the people who want it now. But then Sony and Microsoft, obviously not providing enough consoles, kind of hurted that as well, because there's just would get like 4, right? Which is Amazon's problem too. But so that's the reality of it. And so then you get COVID. People can't go any place. A lot of places are shut down, or if they are going, it's like only like one person in the store. It limits users and stuff, which is going to limit your sales and revenue anyways. And then you have all that overhead of the actual physical building.
Yes.
So then we get that we have the new board and all that. So the stock jumps a little bit. So then a bunch of people who in Wall Street who are realizing this is the case, right?
That it's a downward trend.
Right. It's GameStop is clearly on its way out, right? You're like, it's going the way of Blockbuster. They didn't move fast enough. And it's going to be dead. So a bunch of these hedge funds and stuff were like, well, then I'm going to short it. Meaning I'm going to buy the stock. I'm going to take basically portions of the stock when it's like whatever cheaper. And then I'm going to buy it when it's basically they're getting the stock at a higher value. So then when they sell it back, they get a lower value and they get the profit between the two shares.
Yeah.
And that's what they get back to their lenders.
A normal stock for anyone buying it, you buy it at the price that you have, and then you wait and sell it at either a higher price for a gain or a lower price for a loss. But when you short a stock, you're basically inversing that, where you're selling it first with a promise to buy it back later. So it's a loan or anything like that you want to compare it to. But so it's definitely unique.
Right. And when you buy it back, you want to buy it back for less than you sold it for, because then you're basically taking the additional profit. And you're like, cool. So I'm going to give me like 100 shares, but I'm going to buy a new 100 shares. Don't worry. And I'll give you 100 shares back. But when I did that, those 100 shares cost X value less, and then I get all that profit because I got them from the initial value.
And the reason that it's like it's a risky move, and the reason that it is risky is basically if you buy a stock and something terrible goes wrong, the lowest you can go is to 0.
Right.
But if you're shorting a stock and something goes terribly wrong, at least for what you expected, there is no limit to how much that you have to pay back.
Well, yeah, because if the stock price keeps going, basically the higher the price goes up is like if it becomes, it was a $20 stock that, for example, is a $450 stock, you might not have calculated that. And if you have 10,000 shares, right, it's not 10,000 times $20. It's 10,000 times $450, right? Yep. So, and you're like fuck, I just got nailed. So that's what's happening with these hedge funds. So basically Reddit is tired of hedge funds, and hedge funds have been doing this forever. This is not like new to like January 2021.
Oh yeah,
hedge funds do this. They short stocks. It's how they make these massive money, and they basically push it on the little guy is what they kind of can do.
Yeah,
and take advantage, but they can do it because they have so much money, and they can kind of like shift the market price by doing this.
Yeah, if you're betting this much money that's more than the value of the company that it's going to go under, then that company's going to go under.
Right.
And you're basically like
you're forcing
twisting the arm of the market itself to
crush
do what
them.
You wanted to do.
Right. And because they're so large, they can get so many shares that they can just, like you said, they force them under.
Yep.
So so Reddit obviously had an issue with this, and a lot of people do, because basically it's like it's built so basically you have to have the X amount of money to get in generally.
Yeah.
And if you have this much, you can kind of just bend it to your will. And it's pretty much what they were doing.
Yeah. And where they were discussing this was specifically Wall Street Bets, the subreddit.
Right. So, and then basically that's filled with a bunch of people, and it's back and forth. Is it the people from Occupy Wall Street, and this now they have money? I think it's some of that. I think it's some new investors who just want to find something to get in on, and they're not sure what to do. And then it's also people who grew up in the 90s, and like GameStop is like a household name. It's like, which you'll see that GameStop, AMC, Nokia, these are the things they're pumping. It's like, this is shit from like your childhood,
that
right?
People loved.
We grew up, but now it's like we have the money to kind of be like, well, I miss Blockbuster. Like, I wish they would have went to digital and competed with Netflix, and they didn't.
Yeah.
And they did it too late.
They tried
and then,
to, yeah.
Yeah, but way at the end, and it was like, well, you're fucked.
Yeah.
So people were like, well, fuck this. Let's stick it to these assholes in these hedge funds, right? These capital hedge funds, like, fuck these guys, and let's save GameStop. So they're like, when they're like, sell, everybody's selling, they're like, fuck that. Buy, take every goddamn share you can, and then hold it.
Yeah.
Don't sell it. Don't give those shares back into the pool of the marketplace where people can buy them, right? Because then supply and demand.
Yeah.
The supply is not becoming greater. That's the problem that's happening. So now the stock's skyrocketing because the demand's getting up, because everybody's like, oh, fuck, we can make some money on this. But there's less options in the pool, right? There's less options in the pool, less water. I can't get enough water. And now you'll see it's like $20 goes up I think the high was like $4.50 or some shit like that. And it's like, if you had, and some of these people, I mean, credit to them, made fuckloads of money on this.
Yeah. And this is something too that happens in normal stock market trading outside of this. It's called a short squeeze.
Right.
So before we were talking about shorting a stock where you bet that it's going to go down, but then if people are savvy to that, then they can actually drive up the price, and it ends up being like this really sharp curve a lot. And you'll see like a 10, 15%, maybe 80% if you're like super lucky of a short squeeze, and companies can lose a lot of money. And basically Reddit took advantage of that factor and started putting the squeeze on all these companies and hedge funds that were shorting the stock. But then you started having all these memes coming out, and you started having all these like news stations figuring out
meme stock. And then an avalanche.
Yeah.
It's a small snowball at the top of the mountain, and now it's the massive boulder.
It's huge. Like, we heard about it last week, a week and a half ago.
Yeah, something like that.
And it was like something that was interesting then.
Right.
But I think this past
week, even when it was like $30, I was like, I'm not getting GME, dude. That's like, I was like, for the rationale we said, it's like, that's going to fall down. And again, not financial advice. I'm just telling you our thought pattern during this. And I can tell you, I don't own any GME. I don't think you do either, right?
I do not.
Yeah, so neither of us. This is just like our opinion on this, but and I never did, for the record. But even when I was like 30, I was like, "There's no fucking way! Like, this is like some weird thing, and it's gonna fall back down."
Yeah.
Little did I know, if I bought it at 30, fucking $350 or $400 it is now. It's like,
I think 460 was the highest that it got.
Yeah, like exactly. So this short squeeze they did wasn't like, oh, we're doing it for a day. This is like, we are.
Yeah.
And
there's like three things that happen. There's people that saw it going up and wanted to capitalize on the squeeze. So they bought it at 30, sold at 300, made back 10 times their money.
Right.
Then there's your diehard, screw the man, we're going to stick it to him people that are like, keep it, hold on to it as long as you can, because that's when people lose money.
Right.
And then the third thing that happens, which is another part of what happens with any short squeeze, is the hedge funds that are losing or have the potential to lose all this money are doubling down on their bet, buying up more of it, expecting that it'll fall even harder later.
Right.
And that's where a lot of people are getting really upset, because they not only were losing money, they got bailed out by other hedge funds. And instead of just cutting their losses, they reinvested all that bailout money back into the stock that they were losing money on.
Right.
Which is like reminding a lot of people of what happened in 2008 with the housing crisis, where people knew that bad things were going on, but just kept doubling down. And it's really like, that's where the greed comes from. That's where a lot of the anger comes from. So now you have people just saying, hold it as long as you can.
Right. So then the way they can't afford their short position anymore. And it's like, then they're going to be forced to buy the stocks back at the high price.
Yep.
And basically, because they're going to have to buy the stocks back for the price that it is, as long as they can hold their short. And then once they can't, they're going to have to buy. The point of holding it is you're forcing them to buy at the higher value, which is just paying out everybody else money essentially. And it's putting them out of business, or like, fucking them over to give them one for the rich guys being, giving the rich assholes like a taste of their own thing. Yeah. Because basically it was like, it felt a lot of time like it's like a rich man's game. Right. Yeah. And that's kind of, and then a lot of people have an issue with that because part of this is like, well, we want more people to get in on this. Then you have Robinhood and a couple others basically not letting you buy, but only sell. And then that obviously made the stock drop, because then people start freaking out and be like, I can only sell. And then it's like, you still need to hold, don't sell it. Just don't do anything.
Yeah.
Right. And that affected them, but then they went right back up, because as soon as those buy buttons turned back on, they were able to do it. Yeah. Why they did that, we're not going to really I'm not a stock or finance guy.
I do want to go back a couple reasons, just for people that don't know.
Right.
Robinhood is an app that
to democratize stock trading is like their tagline, which is hilarious because they stopped.
Well, okay. So it basically lets anybody, you and me, that have no experience with this stuff, make their own purchases on stocks and trade them as like a day trader would.
Right. It's commission free, and you just pay it with tax basically.
Exactly. Yep.
And it's all from mobile. So it's to make it easy for the generation that's like, dude, just log on. What do you want? Put money in the account. Boom.
Yeah. So in the past, there were other people that like kind of let you do this. Charles Schwab was one of them that I had experience with in the past, but a bunch of them that did that, but they had certain rules. They'd either have like fees that they'd charge for every like transaction, or they would make you wait a certain amount of time. If
you couldn't do
something
like
in the
real
morning,
time trading.
You had to wait 5 days to like sell it again.
Right.
So it definitely like,
it wasn't like real time trading.
Yeah. So this is one of, if not the first thing that made like day trading for the common man actually kind of viable.
Right. Which is why when they turned off the buy button, it was kind of like, what the fuck? This is now, I don't want to get into that because we just don't know why.
Exactly.
Like they've explained it. I don't know enough about it to be like, they're lying, they're not lying. To be honest, like that's not my thing.
Yeah.
Point is, what we can say is the buy button did not exist. Then they regulated how much you could buy of it. And that's just the truth. Right.
Yep.
Stock plummeted as a result. Other things were still letting you buy and sell it. They were able to get it back up. And now it looks like you can trade on it, or it's like limited trading. Because Robinhood also has its own investors, and maybe that's something with it. But the point was, now it's not only become like stick it to these things. Now it's almost like stick it to Robinhood at some point, which is like ironically the thing that helped a lot of these traders start in the first place. But there's other apps now that do this, like Binance and stuff like that. So, and Webull or Webbull or something like that.
Yeah, Webull. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you can also get cryptocurrency on it, which is like something that like some of these others like Wells Fargo and stuff don't let you trade cryptocurrency.
Exactly, yep.
Robinhood does. So people like it because of that, because it's how you kind of get some cool. Yeah. And Binance also does that, but and I think Webull probably does. But anyways,
that kind of brings us to where we're at now. Like there are obviously other things that happen. There's other conversations that's going on. You have Elon Musk hopping on talking about stuff,
and like every celebrity
Dave Portnoy hopping on and calling for like CEOs to be arrested and stuff like that. But after kind of this past week, everything else is kind of speculation. What the SEC decides to do. I'm sure politics are going to get involved hard. It's been very interesting to see like Fox News fighting for the common man.
Yeah, I mean, well, and the fact that literally AOC and Donald Trump Jr. agreed on something was like, what the fuck is going on? By the way, not against that. I'm just saying this is what it took.
Yeah,
Reddit army to hold GameStop from the fucking 90s. For a Democrats and Republicans agree on, be like, yeah, fuck that noise. It's like, sure, whatever. We're all on the same page now. That's great. Like, but that was cool to see. So it was like, there's a lot of good happening out of this. That's this unity feeling.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I'm sure financial institutions are going to get involved. I'm sure the SEC, like they keep saying, we don't know any about that. We're not finance guy. We're not. But the interesting part is they decided to do it with GameStop, and that is our wheelhouse. We know GameStop, we know games, we know GameStop, and that's what kind of brings us to now. It's like, well, now GameStop basically went from like I forget the exact numbers, but so we'll just gonna have to go with me on this. It went from like a million. It was a $500 million company. I think it was in debt like $500 million or something like that, to now it's like a $10 billion company or something. Yeah, it was negative $464 million. And then now and it just basically its assets, or it's what it could hold of the brick and mortar stores.
Yep.
But now it's like a 10x whatever billion dollar projection company because of this wild stock increase. And it's just like, okay, obviously this is not going to last forever, right? At some point people are going to sell, right? And because there's so much money, and if they bought it at $20, they're probably holding. But it's like, how much further can it really get? And granted, I'm sure that's also what these hedge funds are thinking. Like, how much fucking higher can this fucking thing go? Can it really get to $1,000? Because that's what Reddit wants it to do.
Exactly.
But
and that's the other thing too that I feel like needs to be said.
Yeah.
Is like, regular day people are going to get hurt from this. We're not sure
unless they sell when it's still high. Because if they wait until the ball drops, then it's like you're going to sell for less than you bought it for, and you didn't make
even money. If there's a positive trend, there's some people that are going to get screwed hard,
right? Because some people probably think they have $500,000
exactly,
and then it's going to fall to like $40, and they still made a profit, but they made like $5,000, as opposed to 500,000, right? Now, I'm not saying everybody has enough shares for that to equate properly. The point is, there's some people that are probably operating mentally with more. There's also the thing of
train late.
There's also the thing of it's going to cost so much when these people try to sell. No one's going to buy it, right? You're going to get like 10 million shares to move at this price point, but then you're going to get like 10,000 shares to move at this other price point, and you're just not going to be able to move all of those shares that you hold. So it's kind of like you have the money in theory, but not in reality. So there is that. But I don't want to keep going into that. The point is, the company can now do a couple things, because now the company it's kind of what AMC did. It kind of like saved AMC from this massive debt that they had. So now the GameStop kind of it's like, well, what can you utilize this trajectory with? Can you pay off? Like, I'm assuming they've sold some shares to pay off their debts. And obviously I don't know all of those financings that go into it, but like you would assume they would pay things off and probably still close some stores. But now it's like you're operating at a profit, right? And if you leverage these positions well, what can you turn this into, right?
Yeah.
Because it is going to stop at some point. So you got to take, and eventually the company is going to go back to the realistic valuation, whether that's tomorrow, whether it's a month from now.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you use all this extra money? Can you sell stocks and stuff to make it actual funds, and then apply it to what is GameStop? We still want to exist. What can we do? Because we know brick and mortar is not going anymore. We know we're like, no one's doing used games. No one's doing physical hardware. We're getting butt fucked from, like I said, a bunch of other things, mainly Amazon. So it's like, how can we reinvent ourselves? Because we're basically getting a people funded buyout, right? I mean, this is the banks got bailed out by the government. We the people bailed out fucking GameStop, right? So it's like, but it's only for, a certain amount of time. So it's like, can they move this into something that's a profitable thing for GameStop? So keep selling off stores, and then what's our vision? Which
I think is where I said we were going to follow up on the Chewy guy. Like,
right,
he was obviously a visionary in that Chewy space, where he was like, everyone has pets, everyone has toys, food, whatever that they need to buy for pets, kitty litter. Like, why don't we be the Amazon of making sure that everyone gets what they need? And that thing blew up out and basically cornered that market of like delivering pet supplies. He sold it off,
right,
and now has like all this money, not to play with, but to reinvest in something else. And out of everything in the world, he chose to invest in GameStop in a huge way. So is that just I can't imagine that someone that was that successful and like invested that much in something and brought on 2 of his teammates for nothing to happen.
Yeah, no, I think they're definitely brought on to we have to change things up. What can we do? Now we have this additional revenue stream, I guess. I mean, I don't really know what they can do with their stock because they obviously have to hold shares as a company. But
well, first off, they have a ton of publicity right now.
Right. So it's like
any comment that they make is going to be on national television, which does not happen with any company.
Yeah, no, they have, and it's going to go viral, guaranteed.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can we just leverage this? And I think that's kind of where we want to give all this backstory to kind of get into the stuff that we can talk about. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like I said, I'm just saying this again, just because I don't want to deal with bullshit. Not financial advice. None of this is financial advice. We don't know anything in Game GME or GameStop or whatever. We're just talking about the reality of real life and the situation. But what can they do now? They made a deal in October with Microsoft to move all their platforms to Microsoft 365. And they also included some revenue sharing on all digital game purchases for Xbox Series S and X for each product sold by the retailer. So each product sold at a GameStop, if they sold that one Xbox at that GameStop, then they get some of the digital sales that's awesome.
Doing.
Yeah. It is. They didn't say how much it is. Again, it's like how much is that helping with their digital stream? That is some interesting thing they did. The other thing is in 2016, right? GameStop tried, and it just kind of dead in the water. But GameStop made, which is where I think they should go, became a video game publisher.
Mm-hmm.
And they became an indie game publisher,
which I didn't know until you mentioned that like this week.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people forgot about it, but they actually made one game that's like won a shitload of awards, and a lot of people might know. So in 2016, it's called Game Trust Games. It was the name of their publishing, and it's not AAA. They weren't like, we're gonna fucking compete with Spider-Man. Ironically, one of their developers was Insomniac, who made Spider-Man, but it was for the $15 to $40 range. Indie games that are like, I can't publish this. I don't have the distribution channels. Maybe I need a little bit extra money to finish this. You don't want to do
which is
a
genius too,
or whatever, GoFundMe, whatever.
Yeah, which it is genius because you have these like $50, $60, $70 AAA studio backed things, and then you also have like your $5 indie games.
Right.
So having something in between is pretty genius.
Right. And it's like, it's a huge market, and it's like you can make that work. Now, granted, like a lot of these software platforms try to help with that, like PlayStation, Xbox, Steam. They have like early access and indie dev. So, they might be like, well, is this taking percentages out? But the way Game Trust worked, it also looked like it was trying to help. So it's like, if you need additional resources, while those things will put you on their platform, I don't believe they actually help with the resourcing a part of it. So either way, it was interesting. It was Game Trust Games. They published 3 games, right? And the last one published was 2017. So again, they haven't published anything for a while.
Yeah.
But they also haven't collapsed. Like it still exists.
You better be getting to the one game that
we have.
Referring to.
I am. I'm just kind of building it up. We have more Twitter followers than they do, which is not really us saying we have a shitload. It's just like, that's weird.
Yeah, that's a dig on them more than it is a boost on us.
Yeah. Please follow Glad You Game Pod on Twitter. But so, and they haven't published anything since 2017, but they also haven't like officially announced that it's closed or anything. They just fucking haven't done anything with it.
Yeah.
And the website looks terrible. It looks like it was written like 2001. You click the links, it's like, do you want to email aloha at GameTrust.games? And I was like, maybe. I literally almost emailed them from the Glad You Game like business account. It was like, Do you guys still exist?
You want to see what's up?
Your copyright on your website's from 2019. It's 2021. Is this still a thing? Or like, because there's not, I looked everywhere. Do they sell it? Do they close it? They just don't talk about it anymore. This is a revenue that if it still exists for them, I think this can easily mark it down because this still exists today. And you have a ton of publicity from all this and goodwill. So the games they made was Deformers, which is Ready at Dawn, who have made quite a few games. Has Been Heroes. It's the creators are like trying.
Has Been Heroes is also like what the stock market should be labeled as now.
Yeah. And then there's the game that I was talking about is called Song of the Deep. Song of the Deep is like a very well-known game. It came out, it was made by Insomniac, right? So an incredibly well-known publisher. It was met with a lot of praise. Like it was a really well-made game. And I think it won a few awards. So it was an interesting indie concept.
What was it about?
Basically, it was inspired by like Irish folklore and shit. And it was a 2D side-scrolling underwater action adventure game.
Okay.
So you're kind of like in this little like submarine thing floating around. And it was fun and interesting. It was like the definition of indie, right? And it's crazy that Insomnia made it because you look at like Spider-Man and then you go back like, what did you guys make 4 years ago? They're like, oh, Song of the Deep for GameStop. And I was like, what? And it's like, yeah. So yeah, it's just kind of like a lot of interesting stuff. And yeah, that was so Insomniac was the one who I was talking about, but also Ready at Dawn is also pretty well known. And they obviously went on to make other things such as Echo VR that you love to play.
Oh shit.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
Also the Order 1886, right? They did that. They did the God of War Origins collection. They did, all those things. So it's like they're making games quite a bit. So it's like that's Ready at Dawn. So
I hadn't thought about this, and I'm probably interrupting
the
flow, but it would actually be really cool if they got a developer or turned into a developer that was just focused on updating games.
Oh, you mean like the God of War saga? Like we'll just remaster these for
exactly
you.
Or remastering. There we go.
Yeah.
But basically, it would kind of tie them to their old school roots of like all the games that they like were profiting off of in their heyday, making them available to the current gaming sphere,
right?
By like updating them, redoing assets, and just kind of like making them live on in the digital space, which I don't really think there's anyone that's dedicated to doing that.
Well, I mean, a lot of smaller devs do that.
But they'll do it for their own games.
For their own, well, I mean, like Ready at Dawn did God of War, and that wasn't their game.
Okay, all
right. So generally, it's like smaller indie ones that the studio can, like Sony can work with. But it is interesting. That's an interesting option. I think they're going to go more the publishing route. I don't think they want to house developers. I think they want to just be the people who are like providing distribution, and like basically they want to be a product manager and like give you resources if you need it. I think Games Trust can do that because Game Trust did that. Then they stopped doing that, and it's like what you were doing. Like that was the one interesting thing they were doing because that's still going to exist. People are still going to publish games. It's a massive industry. You have all this clout right now, or all this like media attention. Just you don't need to be like, we're making a game publisher. Just fucking be like, we're refunding Game Trust. We are like repumping that shit. Please, everybody, let's get in. We got 3 new games coming out. Let's use if you want to help us continue to grow truly and not just search these hedge funds, let's fucking buy these goddamn Indians, right? And then all of a sudden they're running. So that's what I think their best thing is, because I think and that will be cool and fun. Now, obviously, kind of moves from the brick and mortar stuff, which I know you kind of want to get into.
Yeah. So my thing is definitely way more of a long shot. It's not the typical next step, but I also think they're posed for a long shot type thing. And
I think everything's on the table for these guys.
Exactly. Yeah.
Crazily enough, when they were at like, we're going bankrupt 30 fucking days ago, most likely there had to be conversations where like, we're closing up shop.
Yeah.
And now they're like, what shops are we opening? Like, or they can do that.
So everyone says that they're like brick and mortar is a liability. All the shit they have, all the printers they have, all the desks they have, like that stuff that they're trying to offload, get rid of so that they can close down these stores. But they have this network across the country of brick and mortar spots that are in malls, that are in places that people are actually going. So they have that infrastructure there. If they wanted to leverage that into some kind of like VR experience, if they wanted to make it something that like all these budding new teams that are going to be competing in all these new arenas that are being built, that's something they can do. I think though,
you mean like kind of like the Philly Fusion?
Exactly.
Yeah, that'd be kind of
cool. To have like, I mean,
there's. Oh, you mean like GameStop?
Is like arena. The training ground for that kind of stuff.
Okay, so they have a land.
You have
become a land
30
center.
GameStops within 50 miles of Philly.
The Starbucks of land centers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The other thing though that I think could really, really be something, and it's hard to say without just doing it, but
is this Build-A-Bear?
No. I don't think building computers is where they're gonna profit.
Yeah, okay.
It would be fun. It's a neat idea.
Sage, we were talking about basically it was essentially Build-A-Bear, but Sage was like, but like computers. So like you like have like your graphic card and stuff like that out, and it's like all pre-designed things. And it's like prefab shit, and then the kids come in and do it because they all want to build their own computers now. So you do it in a shop that's like, here, we can do it in an hour with experts. We're going to give you only so many options so we can ensure all this works.
Yeah,
and then kind of make it like a fun experience that you do on like a play date with like you know, a bunch of 10-year-olds birthday. We're gonna go build computers, and it's like everybody builds like a $500 computer.
Yeah.
Problem is the bear is like $30 probably. I don't know, I've never been there, but computer's gonna be at least 500. So it's like you have to.
That's something I don't necessarily think will work. It would be fun, but they couldn't scale it up and really capitalize on.
Yeah, but that would be something cool. Make them feel like they're like computer engineers.
But I think streaming could have like a huge future in something like this. So if they took their physical locations that are however many square feet and broke that down into like 10 to 20 stations that had a PlayStation, Xbox computer setup, like full res computer setup.
So like a rented streaming studio.
And then full like professional microphone, professional lighting, a high-speed connection, so that like if you don't have all that stuff in your home, if you don't want your mom interrupting you asking if you need your laundry done,
Mom, the meatloaf, fuck.
Like if you're someone that's like actually trying to become a streamer, don't have the capital to put like $2,000 into becoming a professional streamer,
for the record, at a minimum, right? With that kind of the software to record, the microphone, all that kind of shit. Yeah,
like it's a low barrier to entry, but there is a barrier to entry. Like you need to have all this stuff.
Well, it's a low barrier to entry for shitty stuff. Like if you want the stuff that you see these other people using, that is not a low barrier. I mean, and you want a game the way they're doing it, where it's that hardware you need. I mean, you're now talking $2,000 to $3,000 for the computer.
Yeah,
then
and as we know, everything in the world is going like monthly subscription type thing. Right. So if you have a subscription that you're like, you get
GameStop streaming,
12 hours of prepaid streaming on any system, anything you want for like $100 or $120 a month. Like I think there are a lot of people that would be very much up for that. And you have different tiers that you can do for it. And that's just something that like you're going to after school. You're going to before you go to work, you're doing whatever, and like actually building up something that it's going to consistently look the same. You know that you're not going to like drop internet or whatever. And obviously through Discord and whatever, we both know that this is kind of the future of like how games are being played.
Basically, one that gives a whole new meaning, like the GameStop Pro rewards, because I actually make them matter. Other than like 30 cents, we'll give you is like 50 cents. Basically, what you're describing is you want them to be kind of like, this is not gonna be a great analogy, but kind of like how like those like online porn webcams companies work with like Chatterbait, where it's like really just a warehouse with like 40 rooms in it. And like, they're like, yeah, it looks like a whatever's bedroom. And you just come in and rent it out. That's what we're making GameStop, except instead of like,
we're going to go in that direction.
Yeah. Instead of, I mean, that's the business plan you're saying. And then,
but also a successful.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm retired from that game, but not Pornhub, but like whatever. But yeah, it seems to work. I think that's a fair thing. And you could also still do like the Let's Chat. Like if you just don't have a good streaming setup. You want good
Yeah.
lighting, like you said.
Yeah.
I mean, more than
And the
this, the
fact that
ring
you can
lighting.
have like teams stream together.
Yeah,
because that's extremely hard to set up. On
and it's
just
like you
a
have your
regular
competition nights where it's like I want to have a stream set up with my friends as like we are the esports gamers.
Yeah,
but it's really just me and my friends. But they basically make us feel like we're Ninja and his squad or whatever the fuck.
Yep.
In the championship, and it's just me and I have friends, and it's a place we can all go.
Yeah,
because like I agree, like they have LAN centers that you can do that aspect. But if GameStop makes it a production, it's like we're streaming all of this on our one, you'll
they
be
have
streaming
proprietary software that makes sure that you have screen on the bottom edges and top edges of all the things.
But like your friends who aren't there can watch it, and like it's like instead of just going there and gaming and you get it that one time, it exists after that. But also people can live in there, and it makes you feel like you're the celebrity as well. Because like I'm sure, like I know you want it to be like this is how you can get your start to become the next whatever. But also it's like could be like a fun birthday party where it makes you feel like you already are that celebrity.
Absolutely.
Right? And your friends, like people give a shit about watching you. Whether they do or not, right? We think so, but who knows if they do, right?
That would actually be like just a fun play on like the old birthday thing was like, especially when you're in elementary and middle school or whatever, like go around handing out invitations like, oh, who's going to come to the birthday party? So like now
you've been invited to Halo Legends.
Now
drop down.
Everyone gets an invitation.
Yeah.
Only 8 people are going to be there, but everyone's like, sign on, join Billy's birthday bash.
We'll give you the Evite. Now Evites actually like matter.
Yeah.
Or you can like have a competition with your friends, be like, well, we only have 8 desks, right?
But
we
like,
so there's 10 of us. So we're going to have a prelim round. See who makes the finals. And then it's like, oh, now we got some steak.
Like, I wouldn't give a shit about anything like that, but like for kids that are like into this stuff and want to do,
I would have loved that at 10, dude. That would be fucking dope.
I would have loved it. My parents wouldn't have paid for it, but
right. Well,
but I mean,
the entry price also is
just the LAN aspect of it is cool.
Yeah,
but to like be able to stream and like have a portion of your damn school sign on so that the next Monday when you're all coming in, it's talking about like Jerry tearing up some chicken dinners and
yeah, that would be dope. And they add the production value of it where it's like the GameStop World Championship, right? Yeah. And it's like,
and they can sell fucking ads on the bottom of it.
Right. And then they give you and then it's like going to Disney World, right? At the end, they're like, go up to your parents, like, hey, instead of like, we got your picture on the fucking roller coaster, like, oh, it's live stream, but it's all live stream on GameStop's live stream, not YouTube. So they can be like, do you want the video? Yeah, because then they can sell the video aspect instead of giving away for free as well. So the people have to log into the GameStop portal.
And
so
then like
there's a lot of opportunities
shit like that too. And like, I think it's Barstool, right, that has their own network now on TV that's just like videos playing all the time, right?
Well, Chive has Chive TV. Barstool doesn't have one of those yet, but Barstool does. I mean, they're streaming on YouTube and stuff like that a lot of time.
But Chive TV is what I was thinking of. So if you had like a Chive TV network that was all just like these small town like different gaming moments, and you had like a best of that was just playing 24/7 that you could log on,
and there's like
see all these different
some GameStop rating per area, and then there actually is a GameStop tournament.
There's
I think we just like gave GameStop like an incredible game plan.
But that's kind of what I'm saying with the Chewy dude. I forget his name, but like
no, Chewy dude is definitely
But like
Chewy, I can't do it.
He has to have.
He
has to have something up his sleeve. It can't be nothing. I mean, don't believe it's just.
I don't know I guess it really comes down to if you're like an optimist, a realist, or not. Because like he could just be there, like, I think I'm just gonna get some money, get the bump, and then fucking roll out. And then I'll own it when we sell.
The fact that the other 2 people came with him, that's what convinces me that there's a bigger
CEOs do jump around though. They do like share other company, like he was a CEO here or here. But I think, and I like to believe that like what you do, that this is for a reason. And even if it wasn't initially, that this reaction is a reason to be like, fucking time to put on the bootstraps and like fucking let's go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that your thing is a good idea. I think that would be really cool. I think they, do some, I think publishing kind of exists when it's like, we don't need the brick and mortar anymore. We can exist exterior, but because they already have it set up. But your thing makes a lot of sense. Like, we still want to keep brick and mortar. How do we keep that? and that's another vertical, right? I think GameStop, we've given you 2 verticals that will definitely both make money. One, you already have the foundation for both of these.
Yeah.
You literally own Game Trust Games. You started doing this and then you fucking stopped. Just start doing that again. And the other thing, just break down all that shit, sell your leftover merchandise or buy back the cons you do, build these strand centers, and just do both verticals and see which one actually makes money. Maybe they both will, and then you have 2 viable products, and you actually become like a real stock that's worth more than what your currently valuation is at.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah. I mean, I personally, again, not financial advisors, but I know GameStop's listening because of our massive reach, right? So GameStop, you owe us some money. And if you want us to be the official podcast sponsor and help push this content, we'll do that.
We're here for you.
Yeah, we're here, baby. We got it.
My imagination just keeps on going where it's like you have like a card or a chip or something that you bring in and just like slide it in and it logs onto your Twitch, your
it's
Xbox,
like an RFID
Game
card,
Pass,
like the badge. Yep.
And just like logs onto all your shit, remember your settings and stuff like that.
Yeah, you get like GameStop credits, which are just bullshit things. So it's like Kohl's Cash. And it's like, well, if you come for this, we'll give you like 50 GameStop.
Kohl's Cash is a real goddamn thing.
Kohl's Cash is a real fucking thing, but you gotta be back in 2 weeks. Or else it evaporates. It's like GameStop credits like evaporate in 2 weeks. Like our stock evaluation. Who knows? Like it fucking there's a lot of options. So I mean, yeah, I would love that. And I would also love the GameStop to sponsor us. So,
that's where we're kind of at with this whole thing. It could go
exciting.
A lot of different directions, but if you put it in the optimistic light, there's 100 directions that this could go.
But really the 2 that we said and that they should pay us for it.
Exactly.
Yeah. They should definitely sponsor us. I mean, or Barstool, because they're also now on the GME wagon as well. or Elon Musk. Like if we need a little SpaceX gaming, we got that. Space gaming. We'll go up in the shuttle. We'll be the first people to like game like in orbit. Although that's definitely happened by astronauts. But also some fun fact, Tesla, speaking of Elon Musk, they announced their new Model S, which they confirmed does play Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk. So, which is kind of cool. And they showed Witcher 3 on it. And I was like, pretty fucking dope.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, we found a system that can play Cyberpunk. So, that's not, for the right. I love the game. It wasn't a shot. But that's this GameStop saga. I'm sure we'll have an update next week because it feels like it's an ongoing thing. Whether
probably won't spend this much time on next week, but
it felt like we had some fun speculation and in the game industry, and it's like let's just take advantage of that. I mean, was it also like, oh, more people might listen? Maybe, but like fuck it. Glad you're here. Glad you're game. Glad you're listening. That was great. By the way, I'm just complimenting myself. Speaking of all that fun shit, do you want to roll into some? You got some trips? Bang bang. All right, you can go. I don't think you had any last week, right? So I think you should start. I think you were like, fuck it, I don't want to do shit.
It was very low or not at all. Yeah. No, this week I do have stuff. Going off of like valuations and stuff like that. Revenue is what a lot of companies are evaluated at. So we're going to talk studios and publishers and just doing revenue. So you're going to guess what the most recent release revenue. Most of them are 2019. A couple of them have got 2020.
Just the revenue of those companies?
Yep.
Okay.
So I can tell you that none of the ones that I list are in the millions.
So I mean they're in the billions.
Or lower.
Okay, so
just 100,000
so it's
revenue.
Like it's like 100,000 or like 1 billion.
Yeah.
But nothing's like 700 million.
Correct.
Great. what a range that is. Okay, like fuck it. Let's go.
Yeah. Activision Blizzard.
Billions.
Yeah. You want to give me a number?
Oh, I thought I was just saying billions or not billions.
Oh no. They're all in the billions. None of them are below.
Oh, okay. I thought that was really the thing, and I was like, "This is gonna be really fucking easy." What? So, how much revenue they made in 2020?
I believe that one's 2019, but their last year recorded. Yeah.
Okay. I can't. That's not profit, right? Or that includes
profits, revenue minus
right expenses and shit like that.
Yeah.
So this is revenue. It's
just how much money they made selling games. Yes.
Yeah. Just in that year, not up to that year, right?
Correct.
Okay. They are big. I can't remember when they had another purchase, but fuck it. Let's say 9 billion.
6.4.
I was gonna say 7. I was never gonna say 6.
But I'll give you within 5, so that works.
Bang bang, baby. That's right, chat.
Electronic Arts. EA in the game.
This is 2019. Are these or 2020? It matters because they've released more games in both those 2 years.
Just imagine they're all 2019.
Okay. Probably 12 billion.
5.1.
Wow, that is a shame. So I wonder if that's when Fallen Order came. I was trying to think, when did Fallen Order come out? Not that was going to be billions, but anyway. Okay.
Nintendo.
See, I feel like I could be like 7 for all of these, and I'd probably be within 5. Like, I don't think any are like super high. I'm gonna say Nintendo's probably like 14.
You were wrong.
Which one?
1.3.
Wow. See, yeah. So I
trillion.
Whoa, that was their revenue. Fuck off. No, it wasn't.
Yep.
What? That's crazy. Actually, you know what? I'm glad, because if that was 1.1 billion and like EA wasn't, I was like, fuck that.
Yeah. Insane.
Are they the only trillion company?
No, I think
don't tell me. Just others exist.
Well, it's not in here, but that other one that
I know Apple
is like
was,
all the mobile games.
Oh,
that we
Zynga
talked about.
Yeah.
That was also in the trillions, but I was not gonna,
or Mojang or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Capcom.
I mean, that's Street Fighter Resident Evil 2019. 4.5.
4.5.
That's what I said.
Is the 2 numbers that I have written down. There is a 9 before it. 94.5.
Whoa! Fuck me. I think what happened was I highballed the other ones, and now I'm trying to lowball everything.
It is wild. These numbers are like,
what the fuck is Capcom? It's Resident Evil and
I just took them from
Fighter.
Google, so like
yeah, but it's like Resident Evil and Street Fighter is Capcom. They must just have. Well, I guess they have those big tournaments, and if it's 2019, they still existed because they didn't have them a ton in 2020. They must just make a fuckload of operating revenue from the Street Fighter games. That's great.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, fucking cool. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Microsoft.
Is this the games division, or Microsoft as a total
publisher?
Does that not include
total.
Okay, does that include like publishing software? Like, because Microsoft Office would be software. That's why
I'm quite certain Office is not included.
Okay. 20 billion.
143.
Okay, so I should stop saying that.
Konami.
Who are not selling their games division, by the way. That was also another story from this week. People thought they were selling their games division. They said they were not. I mean, their Metal Gear, I don't fucking know. All these things you keep saying are in the hundreds. Like Capcom was 90. And you're giving me a +5 on this. It's like almost like +50 at this range. 55 billion.
Even if I gave you +50.
What is it?
262.5.
Oh my god. I mean, I'm happy for them.
Take-Two Interactive.
That has to be fucking close to that trillion number. I was like 700 billion.
1.4
billion?
Yeah.
1.4 billion? So they're the lowest? That makes no sense.
So far. Well,
because Take-Two publishes Grand Theft Auto.
That's
Take-Two Interactive. They own Rockstar. That's interesting. I guess that's all they have, though. So maybe that's why.
Yeah.
And
it's like anyone that has it, right? maybe.
Yeah, but they do GTA Online and get. I'm assuming they're including the online road because it's like that game itself is a $7 billion game.
You'd like to think maybe it's just the cost of supporting it or whatever.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Ubisoft.
I mean, they're like the size VA, but Capcom was like $1 bazillion. Although it's the Japanese companies like Konami and stuff that you were like. I think Capcom is a Japanese company too. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure.
I would agree with that.
Began in Japan in 1979. Booyah! Because they have like Ubisoft Montreal. I don't know. Fuck it. $10 billion. It's probably so much lower.
1.7
billion.
Yep.
Okay. So are you going to say trillion to any of the other things?
No.
Okay.
I mean, Nintendo's kind of an outlier.
Yeah. So that kind of makes sense. I just wanted to be more than EA. Yeah. It's not. Probably because of fucking Madden. And FIFA.
Bandai Namco.
Bandai Namco. Let's see. I feel like they don't make shit anymore. 4 billion.
There is a 4 in there.
Fuck you. It's 40.
240.
Oh my god! Like, I am so. What do they do?
And the last one is
Jesus,
Sega.
Fuck. See, Sega, you would think is like non-existent, but like I know they do the fighting game shit, which is similar to Capcom. So I'm gonna say 100 billion.
I think it's closer than some of the previous ones. 274.7 billion.
Well, at least I didn't say like 5 because I was like, Capcom was definitely doing the Street Fighter stuff. So, I mean, what?
Yeah.
No wonder they don't make. It's like, why would you? Where are they getting? Who the fuck is? It's got to be the fighting game.
Like this circuit. Is one of the most.
It's got to be the fighting game circuit, right?
I guess I feel the worst about this trivia because all of these also seem absurd to me.
Yeah, it's like.
But I think revenue definitely comes into play in making these ridiculous because once you actually like turn it into profit, I'm sure a lot of these games are like once you factor in marketing, once you factor in support, once you factor in production and all that shit, then I'm sure a lot of those numbers come back down into realistic territories. Like Nintendo's not making $1.3 trillion a year.
Right.
That is insane.
Right. That's just their.
But if that's how much they're like selling, then that makes more sense.
It's just that's just a lot.
Yep. So yeah, that's what I have. Officially your lowest score, but if I had to guess any of these, I'd be right there with you.
Yeah, I mean, well, because that's like I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 1 million. What number am I thinking of?
If you had,
and I'll give you a +5.
If like, you had said 5 billion, you would have gotten for everyone. You would have gotten one. You would have gotten 3? At least half right.
Oh,
yeah.
Should have just kept with that 5. I started off strong with that, and then it was like, but then like the Nintendo just fucked me, and then Capcom just like bent me over. I mean,
yeah, that one was a roller coaster for me as well.
All right, so, all right, whatever. Well, I was gonna, I was gonna ask about what games did Game Trust Games publish. They've published 4. And what are the names of those games? And I gave you 3 of them. Yeah. But I'm confident in asking you this trivia because I think you forgot.
Absolutely. I did not write them down.
So what are the 4 games? I only told you 3. What are the 4 games that Game Trust? And they actually did publish one in 2018. So that was the last published game.
I don't even remember the big one. It's
great.
Sea-Doo 2000.
No. Just guess 4 games.
Submarine Chronicles.
Okay. I will tell you. I mean, the thing is, you would never guess these games, but since I told you 3 of them 10 minutes ago, it's like that's
not how my brain works.
All right.
Blue Ocean and
what are the publishers? What are the publishers? The games are Song of the Deep, Deformers, Has Been Heroes, The Invisible Hours. Who is the publisher of Song of the Deep?
I know. Is it
who published Song of the Deep? Let's just do that one.
This is so bad.
I mean, I literally went over them for 10 minutes. This is not even trivia for people listening. They're all screaming. Yes.
Okay, good. Let's see.
You're not going to guess the other ones.
Blizzard, Frostware,
Ready at Dawn, Frozen Bite, and Tequila Works.
Okay.
You just like Tequila Works.
I do.
It's they're the ones who did the Invisible Hours, by the way. But yeah, so they've
did you say Frostbite?
Frostbite. Frozen Bite.
Frozen Bite.
Not
Okay,
Frostbite.
right.
Frostbite's a game engine.
Is that what I said? See, I don't even remember what I said, let alone what you said.
This trivia is so fucked. I mean, most of it I was just kind of spouting out during the explanation of GameStop, because Games Trust Games was going to be a lot of my trivia, but then I'm like, I kind of have to explain it to give my rationale. So then it's kind of what's the fucking point?
Yeah, now it's just a memory game, and that is where I fail.
Right, but it's not great for the listeners. So sorry about I dropped the ball on that one, but I will. No, I gave you all the publishers. Can't really tell you that. And
you could literally ask me again right now.
What was the email at GameStop Trust Games that I could have emailed to ask them if they were still alive? I feel like it was kind of memorable. That's why I said, well,
is it gametrust@gmail.com?
Aloha at
right.
It was I mean, that was just
I thought that was what you would tag to get their attention. I didn't know that was the actual email. Were they just based out of Hawaii?
No, it was just saying hello.
Interesting.
It was come say hello to us, and that was it. Fun fact, they ran kind of what you're talking. There is GameStop TV, which is an in-store television network run internally by GameStop.
So they already got a little bit of the foot in that door as well.
Right, precisely. So, I mean, all the things we mentioned, but there is a famous magazine that they own. This will be the trivia. This famous magazine that they own that they give you a subscription when you get the pro membership. What is GameStop's magazine?
GameFly.
No. Do you want another one, or is that?
I hope it's not the thing I posted on Instagram this week.
Maybe not. I'll read everything you post on our Instagram. They also own Simply Mac, by the way, which is
GSE, GameStop Entertainment.
Okay, you probably want to. It's Game Informer.
Oh, cool.
Which is
nice.
Something you could have guessed, because that's a pretty famous gaming magazine. So they do own that, primarily sold at GameStops.
Nice.
All right, I think that's it. We're going to keep going down this rabbit hole. We'll update you guys next week. Thanks for dropping in. Any new listeners, thanks for being here. Thanks for joining the live. If you're not getting live, download. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Like and subscribe on Spotify and Apple, and unsubscribe, resubscribe. It just looks better for us.
At Glad You Game Pod.
At Glad You Game Pod and everything. And Twitch as well. Subscribe to the Twitch. We will. I keep saying we're going to do streaming. We are. It's just been crazy. Stay warm during the nor'easter. If you're in California, fuck off. You're probably warm, just enjoying life.
Yeah.
But all right, we gotta go. Bye.
Lauren, take it away.
Yeah. All right. And then let me
thank you for everyone that signed on, which